Well, it's complicated because, I mean, most of the polling now is done by telephone. And for a sample to be projectable back to the population from which it's drawn, everyone has to have an equal chance to be selected. That's called random probability. That's the only way that they're scientifically founded. Well, young people tend to disproportionately have cell phones, not landlines, and that our calling goes into landlines. So what you're seeing now is you're seeing a lot of the polling, the random digit dialing, telephone polling, skewing very old and missing out young people. I mean, anecdotally, I have 3 adult children who don't have landlines. They are not part of my samples, therefore they do not have a chance to be selected, and it skews our polling. I mean, we have some difficulties in this regard. The additional compounding fact is that young people, especially first-time voters, have terribly low rates of participation and turnout. And so even when you get a young person's opinion, the opinion might not translate into a behavior. That is, they may intend to vote Liberal or Conservative or New Democrat, but if they don't vote, that opinion is skewing the total sample in a way that doesn't reflect what's actually going to happen on voting day. So it's an industry that's in transition right now. I mean, a lot of people are starting to try to use hybrid distribution systems of combining telephone and cell phone and internet even. So if you do an internet poll, the other thing is that it'll skew very young for exactly the same reason. So we have some difficulties in getting to young people right now and treating them properly. Again, it's very problematic because one of the limits of polling is that polling cannot predict behavior in the absence of events that would engender behavior. So, for example, one of the things we have a very difficult time doing is predicting rates of turnout. If it snows, the rate of turnout might be different than if it doesn't. So we use proxy measures. We would ask people, for example, going back to all federal, provincial, and municipal elections where you might have been eligible to vote, did you say that you voted in most of them, a few of them, or none of them? And let people volunteer all of them. Now, the difficulty with young people is that they don't have a history of track record. What if this is the first time? So I don't even have a proxy measure. So the most honest answer is we have no idea who's going to vote and who is not going to vote on on voting day, and that not knowing is even more problematic with young people than it is with people who have a history and track record of voting. Of all the age cohorts, the ones that will be least represented will be young people, no question. Now, let's say if a campaign asked me, I really want to get a handle on first-time voters. What I would do then is I would oversample. And I would use multiple distribution systems. I would use the internet. I would use cell phone lines. I would use hard lines. And I would have a significantly larger sample than random probability would allow me to have in, let's say, a national sample of 1,000. And I would probe in depth. I would probably augment it with what they call qualitative research, focus group research, to find out much more about the motivation of young people in voting and non-voting, and I would factor that in. That all said, we're in the realm of art much more than science when we get to this particular level.